Thank you, Tatiana. It's a great pleasure for me to be back with you all and all of you illustrious people and your illustrious guests from as far away India. It's something I've missed because I've been so busy. One of the things I've been busy doing is finishing up a book that you'll hear about, and it just happens to be called Pluck. There are three things I want to point out to you about that title and why I think it's so applicable to all of us Toastmasters. First, what does Pluck mean to me and to you? Second, where did the title come from? And third, how can we manifest Pluck in our lives in and outside of Toastmasters? Well, pluck, the noun, means courage or chutzpah or willingness to take chances. And all of us Toastmasters know that we were frightened about our speaking and we didn't particularly want to get in front of people. And yet we showed pluck, maybe with the help of a friend or a fellow Toastmaster who already was preceding us. But anyway, we took action and we got here. And we were then willing to break the ice, took a little more pluck to rehearse that, and give our icebreaker speech. But it doesn't end there. If we just say, well, I did it. I didn't think I could ever do it. But then there's speech number two. We have to do the same thing all over again. But what's so wonderful about this process and the fact that we do it together and we support each other is that maybe someone in particular in the club will know something about what we want to talk about in our next speech that we can draw on, and they will give us some advice. So what pluck means for me now that I've been a Toastmaster for a while was alluded to earlier in that I believe by Kate, who gave us our opening. It has to do with how we communicate one-on-one in any relationship. And sometimes that takes pluck. Sometimes that's very, very scary. So I applaud all of you, applause to all of you for showing pluck, for continuing to be here. And I will pause for a minute and see if anybody has anything they'd like to add or question before I proceed to my second point. Not hearing any, I will proceed to my second point, which is where did this title come from? Well, my brother Blair, that you've heard about, who happens to be related to me in a genetic fashion, which is also the case of our about to be club president, Kate, and her sister Allie. My brother Blair is 4 minutes younger. And he and I decided when we had just finished our medical school and law school training, we were 25, that we wanted to do some work together. And we began to talk about medical legal issues. We gave some speeches. It went kind of well. We were looking at the height of the Vietnam War. We're now talking 1967. Where might we be able to work together? If a university, somewhere in the government. And we had the very good fortune to have the former Surgeon General, Luther Terry, who had written Smoking is Hazardous to Your Health in 1964, had come to the University of Pennsylvania, where I was an intern and Blair had finished his law training. And I had enough pluck to pick up the phone and call him as secretary and say, could we come and see you? And he was very welcoming and said, we should have had a lawyer in the public health service. We've never had one before. You guys could make a great team. There are issues like organ transplantation, the use of human beings in research, the issues like a pandemic today that have all kinds of ethical dimensions and legal dimensions, not to mention the Good Samaritan problem, which was our first topic that we talked about. Should you stop at the scene of an accident and risk getting sued, even though that was something that every religion, every humanitarian training suggests we should do. So I'm going to hold up the cover of the book because my colleague Carrie Glenn is going to take a picture that she's helping me share on Facebook and LinkedIn, because I'm 81 years old now and I don't know a lot about Facebook and LinkedIn, but I'm learning with Carrie, and I am so appreciative of that. So this is the book, and this talks about what we did together as a medical legal team, starting at the NIH, then at Yale University, then at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, over a 9-year period, talking about 4 substantive areas: organ transplantation, the emergency medical services or lack thereof, medical ethics, and the physician assistant solution to our doctor shortage. That's the text of the book. But chapter 10 is about the lessons that we learned in doing this work together, which, if you look at the title Pluck, it starts with a P, but it has luck as part of it. And we wanted to point out that we were very lucky people, but made some of our luck. So I'm going to now put in the chat a list of lessons that we learned. If I can do that. Yeah, okay. And so can you all see this in the chat? Did it come into the chat?
Try hitting enter one more time. We're not seeing it.
Okay, how about maybe I share screen?
That would be great.
So I need to go back and sorry for the glitch here. No, that's not it. Well, I am giving you a chance to think about your next question. So unfortunately, I'm not able to bring up these 15 lessons, but I will tell you 3 of the 15 that I felt were most appropriate for us to talk about today. The first was begin where you are. The next was find and develop your voice. And the next one was seek out mentors. And there were others along that line that I can certainly send to you. The suggestion in chat is, can I send them to you? Yeah, I could send them to all of you. But at any rate, let's just talk about those 3. Begin where you are. When, and Arthur Ashe is the person that we quote, we have someone we quote in all of these chapters. He said that. If you're thinking about how can I do something to improve the world around me, sometimes we can get overwhelmed at the possibilities, or we can feel we're not adequately trained. As Blair and I, although we were a physician and a lawyer, which gave us an edge over some people who weren't, the fact is we were green. Nobody would have listened to us if we'd given a talk based on our credentials, unless we were 35 or 45 or had a professorship or the like. But we were encouraged to start. And so all of the 4 areas that I mentioned to you, we were rookies when we started. And what did we do? It came right out of Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point book that wasn't written till 25 years later, so we couldn't get it from the book. We just did it naturally. We studied, you become a maven. You learn what you're doing. So we went to the library and we learned about the laws. And then you become a connector once you know something and you share it with other people. And that we did that with this national group of lawyers, and helped get this model law passed in every state in 3 years by connecting with them. And then you become a salesperson, and we were then asked to give talks all over the place. And for some reason back then, I wasn't so frightened about talking. Maybe it's because I had my Allie and Kate equivalent with me. Um, so I will share with you these lessons in general, because we feel that although they helped us, that includes other things like collaboration, cooperation, service, lead from any chair. Sometimes persistence is the only solution. Invite all stakeholders. When solving a complex problem, sometimes the simplest solution is the best. That's sometimes known as Occam's razor. Act with transparency and build trust. Take the road less traveled. Deal in possibilities. I'll finish up with how can we manifest Pluck in and outside of Toastmasters. We can continue to practice. We can continue to ask for help. We can continue to learn, whether it's writing in a journal or whether it's sharing with a counselor or attending a Toastmasters meeting and giving a speech. So all of us, and I look at Arnie's background of Here, there's his wonderful new book, which I love that title, by the way. So we all can help each other, and Kyle's wonderful book that she shared with us, and Pat has done the same. I think that whether we're published or not, we can share the things that matter to us the most. And we were all blessed, since none of us learned how to speak in public in school. We had reading, writing, arithmetic, but they seemed to leave out public speaking. Thank goodness we found Toastmasters. Thank you, everybody, for putting up with my technical problem. It's a pleasure to be back.